All right, back to sports is going straight on camera in this video as I want to get it up as soon as possible and talk about what is going on in the WNBA. So I've got main four topics. One is the Dijonai Carrington trade from Dallas to the Lynx and the roster moves Dallas has made. The second thing is Napheesa Collier, her injury, and the status of that is an update's been given on her timeline. The next one is Satou Sabally and what is going on with her in the Mercury as she did not play in the last game and there seem to be issues brewing. Lastly, we will take a look at the recent sale or announced sale that has not been approved by the Board of Governors and talk about if the Sun are indeed going to be moved to Boston or not, and sort of the little battle that's going on between the Mohegan tribe and the WNBA. It reminds me of the early 80s in the Oakland Raiders versus the NFL, as I think we have a bit of a territory issue going on. Before we start, if you enjoy the content, then please consider subscribing to the channel. What we try to do on this channel is talk women's basketball like you would talk men's basketball. I try to give numbers behind it and stay out of some of the other issues that others are focused on. Okay, so let's get into this. So, Dijonai Carrington trade. As you're aware by now, the Lynx have traded for Carrington. They gave up a second-round pick and Diamond Miller for Carrington. Now, everybody wants to know who is the winner and loser of a trade, but in this one, I think there's a good chance that they both could be winners. Potentially, you can see what both sides are trying to get out of this trade. So first with the Lynx. So Carrington, they get Carrington. Her numbers this season, she averaged 10 points, 5 rebounds, 1.8 assists, and is shooting 35% from the floor. Three-point shooting has not been good. She's at 26%. Her effective field goal shooting percentage is 38.5%. And the other thing with her, with Dallas, she has not been great in terms of her on-off, in terms of her offense and defensive ratings. Her offensive rating, Dallas, with her on the court, Dallas scores 99.8 points per game. With her off, Dallas scores more points at 106 points per 100. Defensive rating as well. She is at 113 points Dallas gives up when she's on the court. When she was off the court, Dallas only gives up 106 points per 100. I think her on-off, I think that alludes to minus 13 overall in the season so far. She's actually improved. Early on in the season, she was like minus 19 or minus 18. It was not good. And then since coming back from injury and Dallas has played a little bit better, it looks like her on-off is steadily improving. So why are the Lynx and why is Cheryl Reeve trading for Carrington? I think they're just looking for more perimeter defense. I think Reeve sees her future in the playoffs, that they are going to be going against the New York Liberty, potentially the Indiana Fever down the track, and she wants a physical guard. In their first playoff game last year, they went against Phoenix. Natasha Cloud was still playing for Phoenix. Cloud got off in that series. She put up some good numbers, and I think Reeve has a good combo at guard right now. So she has McBride and Courtney Williams, I think, and then Heidemann comes off the bench. I think she wanted more height and more physicality, and I think they'll use Carrington, hopefully, in their mind to sort of try to wear down Sabrina Ionescu and Natasha Cloud when they potentially face that matchup, potentially in the championship, in the finals. To be determined. That's a bit early yet, but I think that's what she's looking to do. In terms of her fitting in with the Lynx, like chemistry and those type of things, I don't think it'll be much of an issue. She's previously played with Williams and with Heidemann at the Sun. I've already heard her talk in interviews how she plays better with better teammates. And to a certain degree, I think that is correct. I think she's a good piece on a good team, and in limited minutes, she can be very effective, and I think Cheryl Reeve will use her quite effectively. If I was going to question Reeve on anything, I would wonder, do they need to beef up more up front? Because obviously with Collier's injury and then Alana Smith, I just recall her just taking quite a lot of punishment against John Qual Jones. I wonder if they need another backup big just to go behind Shepard. The other question fans might have for Cheryl Reeve is, did she protect the right players at the end of the 25 season? So she chose to protect Diamond Miller over Zandalicini. In hindsight, was that the right move? I'm sure Miller could argue, and she's quite right. Hey, I was able to use this Miller piece to get Carrington, which is quite valuable, so I've done the right thing. And ultimately, she probably wanted more athleticism, hoped Diamond Miller would work out, but it didn't work out. And therefore, she's brought in Carrington, the type of player that she's looking for. Because in a lot of ways, I think they envisioned Diamond Miller would be that sort of long, athletic player that could help them shut down athletic twos and threes. Now with Dallas, this trade is a no-brainer. There's no point. Might as well trade Carrington and get some value for her. It seemed unlikely that she would be returning, seeing that they traded her partner, Melissa Smith, off to the Las Vegas Aces. In addition, it just wasn't a good fit as the on-off numbers sort of indicate. So I think why not take a chance on Diamond Miller? Because Diamond Miller's career has been hindered by injury. So she was drafted in the Aaliyah Boston draft, so she's been in the WNBA 3 years. But her playing time has been limited due to knee injury. So her first year, she played 32 games and started 32 games for the Lynx, but she did miss time. I think it was with an ankle injury that year. And then her second year, it was a knee issue. She only played 21 games and only started 4 games. And you could see the Lynx losing more and more confidence in her. She has talent. She's that type of player you would see in an airport and say, "Oh my goodness, you're a basketball player." She's long. Her shot mechanics look good, and she can hit outside shots. She's a perfect 3 and D type player, but it just hasn't happened. And the question is, will it happen? Because she had knee issues her senior year at Maryland. So are the knee issues going to resolve and she could get on track? If it is, it's found gold for the Dallas Wings, and there's no harm in this for them because her contract, she'll be on the last year of her contract at $94K next year. And then if she plays well, then Dallas will have the option of extending a 5th-year contract to her and restricting her. So why not? No harm. Dallas is looking to, is more looking for their rebuild and trying to find different parts. I will give this to the Kurt Miller. He doesn't mess around. If he thinks he's gotten a bad deal or it's not working out, he's willing to admit it and move players on. Hence, Melissa Smith being able to trade her to Vegas for a 1. I think that was a good job by them. And overall, I see Dallas much like the Dallas Cowboys of the 90s when Jimmy Johnson got there. He's just reshaping the roster, see what fits, see what doesn't fit, and if you're not a fit, then move them on. And to that end, he's also made another roster move, which is cutting Tierra McCowan. McCowan was on the last year of, I think she was around 200 and something K, and it was not going to be a fit. I don't think she came into the season in the best of shape as well. When she didn't get playing time early on the first game of the year, I think she was limited to 5 or 10 minutes. She had a bit of a attitude after the game when the team's going in for the huddle. To after the game, she's just walking straight to the locker room. And overall, I think as well the trading for Lee Yaru, the Chinese big from the Storm, she offers more to them in terms of she has an outside shot from the 3-point line, and if it's much of a muchness, and she's not in their long-term plans, even though she has a protected contract. Better to cut bait now and just get on with it, bring other players in and evaluate. So they're taking a look at Haley Jones as well and seeing what her long-term prospects are, which isn't a bad idea. Haley Jones might be able to play like an undersized 4 or 3. Her shot's still a concern, but she definitely doesn't have a attitude, Haley Jones. So I think overall I like that move as well, going ahead and cutting bait with Tierra McCowan. Now the other big news for the Minnesota Lynx is Napheesa Collier. It appears her injury is not too serious. They're currently saying 2 weeks for her injury, for her ankle injury. There was concern. It seems like they sent her for an MRI, potentially looking for a high ankle sprain or a syndesmosis injury. It appears that is not the case. Usually those are about 6 weeks. And if you look at the mechanism of injury, when she twisted her ankle, her foot was pointed. That's usually good. You usually get the high ankle sprains when your foot is sort of coming up towards your head. That tends to be when you get the high ankle sprain. So hopefully she'll be back in 2 weeks' time, which is obviously she's the critical part. If they don't have Collier, they're not going anywhere in the playoffs. Now, speaking of critical parts, that leaves me to Satou Sabally. If you're not aware, she missed the last game due to personal reasons, and there's a lot of speculation about this. Sabally has not been playing well since returning from an ankle injury after the All-Star break. So prior to the All-Star break, she was averaging 19 points on 39% shooting from the floor, 30% from the three-point line, and she was averaging 7.6 rebounds per game. After the All-Star break, she's still shooting 39% from the floor, but only 8% from three and only averaging 10 points per game. So her numbers have gone down. And then in the second half of the Atlanta game, Nate Tibbetts benched her in the second half. At the end of the press conference, he said that she did not give, or like her energy levels were not enough, essentially. I watched the game just to see if I could see anything that was really benchable, and I've got to be honest, I didn't see anything. She got into it a little bit with Bree Jones when they were coming down court. They jostled a bit, and she got hit with a unsportsmanlike foul, 2 shots. I thought that was a little bit soft, but overall, and you could tell after that, after they reviewed that, she was a little bit pissed off. You can see her sort of brush up against a coach, but still, I don't think there was anything there. And watching her play defense, it looked to me that there wasn't anything egregious like, oh, she's definitely not trying. She was fighting through picks. She got taken out on one pick. She might have been pissed off at a teammate not for calling out the pick, but the other one, she was fighting through picks. So I'm not sure what her crime was, but I think she might be less than impressed being called out and being the fall guy for Phoenix's sluggish start. Like, obviously, she has not shot well on offense and her numbers are struggling, but I imagine she's less than impressed with Nate Tibbetts saying, why am I the fall guy here? And much like Napheesa Collier, Satou Sabally is a key piece. If you look at her on-off numbers, um, with her on, they score 107 points on offense. When she goes off, they only score 101 per 100 possessions on offense. Defense as well. They limit opponents to 100 points per 100 when she's on the court, and it goes up to 103 when she goes off. So she's a positive influence on offense and defense. And is that a player that the coach can challenge? I'm curious if they will mend fences and say it was nothing or not. Again, DeWanna Bonner is on this team, and I guess that's the elephant in the room because she was obviously unhappy. Bonner was when she was in Indiana, personal reasons, and what do you know, forced her way out of there. Is that what Satou Sabally is going to do? And I'm sure Phoenix fans, they might come at me and say this is reckless speculation, which it is. But, and I think Tibbetts has already come out and said this isn't related to the benching, but these coaches, I'm not calling them liars, but I don't think they give the full story. Take, for instance, Cheryl Reeve. After they blew out the Aces, she was asked about Diamond Miller not playing, and she was like, well, we just weren't able to get her in. It just didn't fit the rotations for this team we were playing against. It's a shame she didn't get in, and basically the reason that Miller didn't play in that game, she didn't want to get Miller injured before they were about to trade her to the Dallas Wings. And much the case with Tibbetts, maybe he's telling the truth. I'm not sure. But there's a large potential he is not giving the full story of what is going on with them. And it's really a shame because you could see the vision of Phoenix coming together. At times it looks really, really good with Thomas and Sabally. Their game should mesh really well with Thomas dribbling up the ball and Sabally helping spread it out and giving a little bit more length. It should have worked as well with Bonner, but so far Bonner hasn't been great. She's still -6 at Phoenix, so it's interesting to see how Phoenix will play out. Will Sabally come back, and they all say, hey, it's water under the bridge. We're not worried about this. Things happen. Hopefully that's the case. Or is she going down the Skylar Diggins path? So way of Dallas to Phoenix, and then is the next stop Seattle? That's where I think she might go next, is Seattle. And that, again, is reckless speculation. to be determined. But yeah, it's a worrying time for Phoenix, because if they don't have Sabally, yeah, they're not getting to the championship, in my opinion. They're not getting to that level. They really need Sabally to get them to that next level. Now, the last thing, let's look at the sale and principle of the Connecticut Sun to the minority owner of the Boston Celtics. I think that's Steve Pagliuca. I think that's how you pronounce it. Anyway, he's looking to buy the Sun for, what is it, 325 million. Jen Rosati has helped negotiate this deal, and it was leaked, and it sounds like, oh, it's a done deal. WNBA has come out and released a statement through their PR saying, hey, any sale needs to be approved by the WNBA Board of Governors, including a relocation of the team. And reading between the lines, it's looking like the WNBA does not want to lose the Boston region for expansion fees down the track. So it's interesting to see how this plays out, because I think what the WNBA wants is them to sell the team to a owner in Connecticut, and they have that region down the track. And in 2033, they'll continue to expand and collect more fees, and that's more money in the pocket for the WNBA. And it has a lot of layers. Like I said, I find it similar to the Oakland Raiders in the 80s. So essentially, Oakland wanted to move to Los Angeles. NFL, well, this is actually, the first part isn't probably analogous. Initially, when the Oakland Raiders wanted to move in the 80s, the NFL was like, no, you can't move. You need to be loyal to your fan base. And they fought that move. And then Oakland succeeded in their lawsuit and moved to LA. Al Davis thought that he got screwed on contract deals by the Los Angeles Coliseum. They were supposed to upgrade it, didn't. So then he got a better deal to go back to Oakland, went back to Oakland, and then he felt, once again, I didn't get enough seats built and private boxes built. I want to go back to LA. And this time, the NFL fought the Raiders, saying, no, 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 you gave up your LA rights. LA is ours. And then for the next 30 years, the NFL used LA against all teams in the NFL, including my Houston Texans. I've got a Seahawk hat on today, but I'm a Texan fan. At the time I was, and an Oiler fan. And the NFL would leverage teams, build us a new stadium or we move. So they did that with the Oilers. They did that with Seattle, I think. They did that with San Diego. Ultimately, San Diego did move there in addition to St. Louis, and that's the game. And I think with the WNBA, long story short, they want to keep that market to themselves and sell it off for the expansion fee for the money. Now, is that right? I think that's a little bit greedy on the WNBA. And I base this on the argument put forward by Jen Rosati, who is the president of the Sun. Now, obviously, she has an interest in representing her bosses that this deal go through. But I believe she makes a good point, saying, hey, the Mohegan tribe bought the Sun at the time Orlando Miracle, when the Orlando Magic did not want them anymore. They bought them and supported the WNBA through a lot of hard times. They should now be able to sell this team and maximize their money. Now that the prices have gone up, it allows the team to be bought by somebody who wants to invest in it, put it in a good location, and build them a practice facility. And I tend to agree with that. I think it'll be a bad look if the WNBA blocks this, although you never know. So I'm not sure what their management structure and ownership structure is so layered, which I've gone through many a time, about how the NBA owns 45%, the teams own 45%, and then there's another 12% that goes to the investors that they did to raise capital. I'm not going to go through that again, but it just makes it really convoluted to try to figure out what the values of these teams are and try to balance the interest of everybody. Now, as always, it is over to you. What are your thoughts, your poison? Do you like the trade for Carrington, the Lynx trading for Carrington? Who do you think won that trade? Or do you think, like me, it's a good trade for both teams? The other one is, what do you think's going on with Satou Sabally? Do you see her returning to Phoenix and playing out the season, or do you think she's going to have a sulk and force her way out of there? And lastly, on this sale of the Sun. Do you think the WNBA should let this go through? Your take, your thoughts. It's all welcome. As well, your feedback on this new style of me just talking directly to the camera. I admit I'm probably not great on camera, but I'm giving it a shot just so I can get more content out there, as it's a bit of a struggle right now. Anyway, thanks a lot for watching. Have a great night.